It's expensive to industrialize. A lot of people don't think about this, but like, say you're a farmer during the revolution, you have mechanization happening, right? So if you are going from like your horse and a plow to a tractor, like that's a very expensive purchase. You need these banks to finance this for you, even just on an individual level.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And kind of that the second piece to this whole thing is that because we did not have a Federal Reserve, and I guess because we didn't have a central bank, we call it Federal Reserve, but it really is a central bank. Because we didn't have that, when the economy got into trouble, there was nobody there to kind of bail the banks out and to help them out, right? To survive these things, to protect investors or to protect depositors' money and all of these different things. And so what kind of came about was that J.P. Morgan headed up kind of a group, a triumvirate, if you will, of three different bankers. Himself at the head of his firm, J.P. Morgan, a guy by the name of James Stillman, who was heading up Citibank of New York, which is now, you go through multiple iterations, that is now Citigroup, which is really the oldest of our big banks. It traces its roots back to 1812. And the third member of this group was a guy named George Baker. And he ran a bank called the First National Bank, which was literally the first national bank to get a charter under the Banking Acts of 1863 and 1864. And what these guys did, they would get together and they would pool their resources of their banks and then pull other banks into this pool that could then use that pooled money to save banks that were perfectly well capitalized, but were experiencing runs by depositors. And let me just give a brief insight into how these bank runs happen. So the way that bank run happens is, you're sitting at home minding your own business. You hear that the bank you have your money deposited in has maybe made some bad loans and you think it could fail. Or you're going to go and get your deposits out, right? So then everybody does the same thing. They take all this money away from the banks. Well, banks, because they're leveraged institutions, they can't convert loans into cash and then pay that back to their depositors quickly enough. So what they do nowadays is they go to the Federal Reserve. They put those assets up for collateral, and they get cash. And then that's how they can satisfy their depositors. Well, at the time, there was no Federal Reserve, and that's what J.P. Morgan Chase, or now it's called J.P. Morgan Chase, but that's what J.P. Morgan did with George Baker of the First National Bank and with what is today Citigroup. At the time, it was Citibank of New York.